I was married for 17 years and found out my husband had a second family the entire time. I'm 43 years old. I was married for 17 of those years. We had 2 kids, a house in the suburbs, 2 cars, PTA meetings, soccer games, summer vacations at the lake. From the outside, we were the image of normal. I thought we were happy, or at least stable. We rarely fought. We had dinner together. He kissed me on the cheek every morning before work. I'd convinced myself that was enough. But it turns out, I was playing a supporting role in someone else's main story. It all started with a phone call. I was cooking dinner, something simple, pasta with garlic bread. The kids were upstairs. My phone rang and it was a number I didn't recognize. I answered, thinking it might be one of David's co-workers or a spam call, but the voice on the other end was calm, almost too calm. "Is this Mrs. Carter?" "Yes." "I'm calling about David. He collapsed at work. He's being taken to county hospital." I froze. "Who is this?" "I'm his emergency contact," she said. I blinked. "But I'm his wife." Silence. Then she quietly said, "I'll meet you at the hospital." I remember driving there with my heart pounding so hard I could barely keep my hands steady on the wheel. I called his office, but no one answered. When I got to the ER, I gave his name and was told to wait. About 15 minutes later, she walked in. She looked younger than me, maybe 34 or 35, business casual, no ring. She stopped in her tracks when she saw me. "I'm his wife," I said. She didn't respond, just looked away. The nurse came out and asked, "Are you both family?" She answered, "Yes." I didn't correct her. When we were finally allowed into his room, David looked pale, hooked up to machines. The nurse told us he had suffered a minor heart attack, likely from stress. I stood next to his bed. She stood on the other side. He opened his eyes, and he didn't look surprised to see us both. He didn't panic. He just sighed, like he'd been waiting for this moment. Like he was tired of hiding. The truth came out slowly over the next few weeks. He'd met her 9 years ago. She worked in the same company but in a different department. He told her he was divorced. They started dating. She moved in with him 2 years later, into an apartment he leased under a different name. Oh, and there's more. They had a daughter, a 5-year-old girl named Lucy. He'd been paying for daycare, ballet lessons, birthday parties. I found photos on his second phone. He had an entire Facebook account under the name Dan Cooper. Pictures of them at Disneyland, beach trips, family barbecues, a second life. He wasn't working late. He was going to dance recitals. I was numb. I couldn't even scream. I didn't tell the kids at first. How do you explain to a teenager that their father was also someone else's dad? When I confronted him, he didn't deny it. He said he never meant for it to go on this long, that he loved both families in different ways, that he just got stuck and couldn't get out of it. He cried. I didn't. I filed for divorce 2 weeks later. That was a year ago. Since then, I've rebuilt. The house is mine now. He pays support. My kids are angry, but healing. Therapy helps. I started going to yoga. I reconnected with old friends. I even started dating, slowly, cautiously. The other woman? She left him too. Once she found out the truth, she packed up and moved across the country to be closer to her sister. She and I spoke once, briefly. She told me she felt just as betrayed, and I believe her. David now lives alone in a 1-bedroom apartment. I hear he's trying to rebuild his relationship with both sets of kids. I wish him luck. I don't hate him. I just don't know who he is anymore. People always ask, how could you not know? And the truth is, I think some part of me did, but I didn't want to know, because admitting it would have shattered the illusion. And when you've spent almost 2 decades building a life, a lie can feel safer than the truth. But here's what I learned. Truth always finds a way out. Even if it takes 17 years, 2 families, and 1 heart attack. I took care of my dying mother, then found out I wasn't her son. I'm 38 now. This happened 3 years ago, and I've never told anyone the full story. Not my wife, not my sister, not even my therapist. I was raised by a single mom. She worked 2 jobs to support us, rarely dated, and never talked about my dad. I asked her a few times when I was a kid, but her answers were always vague. He wasn't ready to be a father. He left before you were born. End of discussion. It bothered me, but I let it go. She gave me a good life. I loved her for that. Still do. Fast forward to my mid-30s. Mom was diagnosed with stage 4 pancreatic cancer, the kind of thing that hits you like a truck and leaves no time for anything but reaction. I took a leave from work. I moved into her house. I gave her meds, changed her bedding, cleaned up after her, the whole thing. She was scared, in pain, and slipping mentally near the end. But I stayed. I fed her soup one night, and she looked me in the eyes and said, "You've always been such a good boy, even though you were never mine." I froze. I thought it was the morphine, but she said it again. "You were never mine, but I couldn't give you back." That night, after she fell asleep, I searched through her bedroom. I found a locked tin box in the back of her closet, taped shut. I cut it open with kitchen scissors. Inside were documents. A birth certificate. My birth certificate, but not in her name. Different mother. Different last name. I found a letter from a hospital social worker dated 1986. I was born prematurely and abandoned by a young mother addicted to heroin. My mom, the woman who raised me, had been working at the hospital as a cleaner. According to the letter, she'd taken me home without telling anyone. No paperwork, no adoption, nothing. She just kept me. The next morning, I asked her gently about the letter. I said I knew. She looked at me, more lucid than I'd seen her in weeks, and started crying. She said she'd had a miscarriage 6 months earlier. Her fiancé had left her shortly after. When she saw me in the NICU, alone, nameless, and with no one coming, something broke inside her. She said she sat with me every night on her break, talked to me, sang to me. One night, she just walked out with me. No one stopped her. No one even noticed. I asked her why she never told me. She said she always meant to, but every year it got harder. I was happy. I called her Mom. She told herself it didn't matter. That love made it real. And I think she really believed that. She died a week later. Her funeral was small, just my sister, her biological daughter from a later relationship, my wife, a couple old co-workers. No one else knew the truth. I never told them. Not because I want to protect her, but because I'm still figuring out how I feel about it. Some days, I'm angry. She stole me. Some days, I'm grateful. She gave me a life I probably never would have had. It messes with my head that both things can be true at the same time. After her death, I hired a private investigator, found out who my birth mother was. She died in 2005 of an overdose. No known family. I visited her grave once. Didn't feel anything. Just stood there with my hands in my pockets and said, "I hope you found peace." My biological father was listed as unknown. I'll probably never know who he was. And weirdly, that's okay. I don't think my mom was a bad person. I think she was a broken woman who made a horrible, illegal decision, and then spent the next 35 years trying to be good enough to justify it. And the thing is, she kinda was. She was there for every scraped knee, every school play, every heartbreak. She worked herself to the bone so I could have a better life. She never once made me feel unwanted. Does that make it okay? I don't know. But I loved her. I still do. And when I think of the word mother, she's the only face that comes to mind. Maybe that's all that matters.
When I was 9, I watched my father dig a hole in the backyard in the dead of night. It wasn't just a small patch of turned soil. It was 6 feet deep, done over 2 nights, and he told me never to speak of it again. At the time, I thought he was burying a dog. Or maybe a box of old junk. Something a kid's mind could rationalize. Something safe. But there was no dog. And there was no junk. Only silence, and the way his hands trembled after he finished. We lived in a quiet town in rural Pennsylvania, the kind where secrets don't stay buried for long, unless someone powerful wants them to be. My dad was a well-liked man, charming, funny, worked at the local auto body shop. Everyone waved when he drove by. He taught me how to fish, how to change a tire, how to lie with a straight face. The night he buried that thing, whatever it was, something changed in him. He became quieter. Less present. My mom noticed it too. I caught them fighting late at night. Whispering fights. The kind that aren't meant for children's ears. Then one day, she left. Just like that. She packed a suitcase while he was at work, kissed me on the forehead, and said, "I'm so sorry, baby, I'll come back for you." She never did. By the time I was 16, I had learned to stop asking questions. The backyard was overgrown now. The grass had long since covered the place he had dug, but I never forgot. Sometimes, I'd look out my bedroom window and swear the ground looked sunken. Like something beneath was shifting. Waiting. Then came the letter. It was postmarked from Ohio, sent from someone I didn't know. There was no return address, only a name, Carla Mendez. Inside was a photograph. Black and white. Grainy. It showed a man, my father, standing beside a woman. Not my mother. This woman looked scared. Behind them was a van. And in the background, a shovel. I didn't know what I was looking at until I turned the photo over. Scrawled in shaky handwriting, "Your father isn't who you think he is. Ask about Bellevue Creek." 1989, I was born in 1994. The next time my dad left town for a weekend, something about a fishing trip with the guys, I dug up the yard. I didn't know what I was expecting. A skeleton? A lockbox full of bloody clothes? A confession carved into stone? What I found was worse. A duffel bag. Wrapped in thick plastic and layers of duct tape. Inside, clothes, cash, a loaded revolver, and several fake IDs. One of them had his picture but a different name, Thomas Grady. I took photos of everything. Then I put it all back and reburied it, careful to make it look untouched. When he came home, I watched him. Closely, every move. Every word. I started noticing little things, the way he locked the doors twice, how he watched our neighbors like they were suspects, how he flinched at police sirens even if they were far off in the distance. That summer, I tracked down Carla Mendez. She worked at a diner in Toledo. At first, she refused to talk. Said she didn't want his mess on her doorstep. But after I showed her the photo, her face went pale. She told me a story that didn't feel real. About a man named Tom Grady, who dated her sister back in the 80s. A charming man. Gentle. Too perfect, until her sister vanished one night after an argument. Her name was Rachel Mendez. No body was found. No charges were filed. But Tom left town the next day. Carla always suspected him. She said the last time she saw her sister was the night she got into that man's van, the same one in the photo. When I got back home, I confronted my dad. He didn't deny it. He just sat down. Rubbed his face. Said, "You weren't supposed to know." I asked him about my mom. About Bellevue Creek. About who he really was. He gave me the truth. Bit by bit. And it destroyed me. My father told me his real name wasn't Thomas Grady, and it wasn't the name I grew up calling him either. He was born Robert Elijah Grant, in Oklahoma. Grew up rough. In and out of juvie. By the time he was 22, he was already wanted in 3 states for assault and armed robbery. He met Rachel Mendez in Texas while working under a fake name. He said she was the first person who made him feel normal. But something went wrong. They got into a fight, about money, about a pregnancy that may or may not have been real. He didn't remember. He said she hit him first, that he pushed her too hard. She fell, hit her head. Didn't wake up. He panicked. He wasn't thinking clearly. He was on parole. No one would believe him. So he cleaned up, packed her into the van, and drove north. He found a secluded stretch near a small town in Pennsylvania, Bellevue Creek. That's where he buried her. And that's where he met my mother, a few years later. She never knew. Not at first. He changed his name again, started working at the garage, built a new life. He said I just wanted to be someone else. Someone good. But the past, as it always does, caught up. My mom found something in the attic one day, an old ID, maybe a letter. He wouldn't tell me what. She confronted him. He confessed. She left. But she never told the police. Maybe she still loved him. Or maybe she was scared. I don't know. I asked him why he never turned himself in. He said, because I didn't mean to kill her. But I did. And I can't take that back. So I spent the rest of my life trying to make up for it. With you. With her. With myself. I didn't know what to do with that. He wasn't a monster to me. He was the man who packed my school lunches. Taught me how to tie a tie, fixed my bike when I crashed it on Mulberry Road. But he was also a man who buried a woman and lied for decades. I took the photos, the IDs, the recording of our conversation, and I mailed them anonymously to the Bellevue Creek Sheriff's Office. Then I left. I moved to Chicago. Changed my number. Didn't look back. 6 months later, I read in the news, local mechanic arrested after cold case tip, body found in backyard. They excavated the yard. They found Rachel Mendez. The trial made headlines in 3 states. He was sentenced to 25 years, no chance of parole. I didn't visit. Not at first. But 3 years later, I got a letter. From him. It was short. I still remember when you were 5, and you brought me that dead frog like it was treasure. I want you to know, I'm sorry. For all of it. But mostly for putting that weight on your shoulders. I love you. I never stopped. Dad. Last year, I finally went to see him. He looked older. Smaller. Worn out. He asked me if I hated him. I told him the truth. I don't know if I love the man you were. But I loved the father you became. Some nights I wake up and think about that backyard. That old Victorian house. The soft earth. The secrets buried just beneath the surface, and I wonder how many other families are living above lies they'll never uncover. But most of all, I wonder who we become when we finally dig deep enough to find the truth, and whether we can ever climb out of the hole.